Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And I tell you what, we've got a bit of a Christmas cracker this morning because we've got three very interesting stories. Bissouma to Manchester United, David Alaba to United, and then a 3 in 3. Manchester United shortlist of Director of Footballs has been, rumoured, released, whatever you want to call it. So, also 2 years of Solskjaer, which actually is not something I'm going to talk about on this show. I think I'm going to pick it up on the 8 o'clock show tonight. However, we are sponsored by the Flick app in the morning show, as you can see in the top left-hand corner, right-hand corner. Today's poll is, how would you rate Solskjaer's first 2 years out of 10? Links to the video description. It's on Apple and Android. It's free. Got over nearly 9,000 United Stand members on that app now, chatting 24/7, doing polls. So links in the video description for that, and we will be discussing it later on. But let's get into this. So look, the three stories in essence: Bissouma's agent admitting that United are in for him. We'll talk about that. Duncan Castles yesterday, Daily Record, spoke about the lad from Ecuador, but also spoke about a 3-man shortlist for Director of Football, which people might be interested in. Although some of it, I think, straight away you can dismiss a couple of the people. But the main story I want to talk about this morning is David Alaba to Manchester United. Bild, who are a German outlet, saying that Manchester United are interested in David Alaba. Now, first of all, I'm just going to get straight into this. I think it's really important. Some United fans have said, forget David Alaba because he wants 350k a week. It's too much money. Forget about it, right? It's not your money. And also, just think about this for a moment. Think about what you're saying. So you don't think David Alaba's worth £350,000 a week. I do. I would buy him tomorrow. I would even think about going a little bit more. You know why I would? Because we're not paying a transfer fee. David Alaba's 28. He's one of the best defenders, whether you think he's a left back, a left centre back, whatever. I think he's a good left centre back. He's one of the best in Europe at the moment. He's in his prime at 28. I'd say he's worth it's hard because of COVID, but he's worth anywhere between 60 and 80 million, I think, in today's market, right? You're getting him for free in his prime. He wants 350k a week. 350k a week is about £16 million a year. £16 million a year over 4 years is about £65 million. So what are we moaning about paying him 350k a week for when that's £65 million over 4 years, which is his transfer fee, which you basically pay him wages? Harry Maguire cost us £80 million. He's rumoured to be on about 200k a week, which is about 10 million a year, is it? 10 million a year? So already we've paid £100 million for Harry Maguire, £80 million in transfer fee and 10 million a year. Well, we've had him 2 years. So we've £100 million Harry Maguire has cost us. And people are saying, I don't want to give David Alaba 350k a week when max he'd cost us 65 million. That would be it. There's no transfer fee, so you're just paying wages, and over 4 years, that's 65 million. We'll spend double that on Harry Maguire. So, and I'm not talking about Harry Maguire being a bad player here. I'm just saying the financials of a deal, sometimes you've got to look at it. And people go, I don't want David Alaba, he wants 350k a week. It's way too much. Like they're going to have to remortgage their own house. It's actually a really good deal. A really good deal. And you can, if you're Alaba's agent, you can almost understand why they would say that, because they're like, hold on a minute, we're out of contract. So David Alaba's out of contract in the summer. We can talk to him in 2 weeks' time because we're not a German club. So he's free to talk to anybody outside of Germany on January the 1st. He wants 350k a week. United should give it. Of course, what I will say is we won't get David Alaba for 2 reasons, I think. One, he'll probably look at Man United and go, I don't fancy that mess. And 2, his agent will start talking to Ed Woodward and co, and after 2 minutes he'll slam the door and say, we ain't talking to that mess again. So they'll mess the deal up. But United will look at it and go, nah, we've got enough. We know you want 350k a week. We've got a better deal, right? We're going to give you 50 grand a week. And if we win the title, we'll give you another tenner a month in an Amazon voucher. But you must redeem the code within 7 days. That's how United will negotiate with this. But a decent club, and I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea do this, a decent club like Chelsea will go, you know what, that's a bargain. 350k a week for Alaba. Look, it sounds a lot. No transfer fee. Over 4 years, it costs us 65 million quid. He's worth 65 million quid. We've just bought him and not had to pay his wages effectively because, it balances itself out. And I don't think people look at it in that way because, let me tell you, we pay Phil Jones around 100 grand a week, which is about 4 million a year. And as I said, the best one is someone like a Wan-Bissaka or a Harry Maguire. we will pay double what we pay David Alaba, even if we gave him 350k a week for the next 4 years, because the transfer fee and their wages combines to massive. I think Harry Maguire's deal at United is it 5 years, or somebody said it's 7 years, but if it's 5 years at 10 million a year, that's 50 million in wages to Harry Maguire, plus 80 million to Leicester, 130 million pounds over the deal. And yet people don't want to give David Alaba 350k a week, which would come to 64 million because he's free. How do we know he wants to continue as a centre-back, says Robert McCormack? Well, I don't have him on speed dial, Robert. I mean, you're throwing up a hypothetical there that's, not a bad point, but we want a left-sided centre-back. He would be brilliant as a left-sided centre-back. If he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to come. I mean, again, what I would say about that, Robert, is I don't think we can do this deal anyway, because I think United will look at it and go, we're not playing 350k a week. But ultimately, you can only be in the race. You offer him the money, you say this is what you want him to do. If he says, I don't want to play left-sided centre-back, he's not going to come to United anyway, is he? So, hypothetical, really. Mark, why would he leave the best team in the world who are probably going to win the Champions League, says Jack Jones. Jack, get on page, right? He wants to leave. He wants to leave Bayern Munich. He's refused to sign a contract. I don't know David Alaba. We don't holiday together. I don't know why he wants to leave Bayern Munich, but he wants to leave Bayern Munich. And probably because of a new challenge and also money. I bet Bayern Munich can't give him 350k a week. Some players get into this situation where it massively favours them. I mean, Ozil did it. Aubameyang did it. Basically, you let your contract run down, and suddenly, you might be a 70, 80 million pound player, and the club doesn't have to pay that anymore. So you make it back in wages. Look, imagine if I'm Bruno Fernandes in 3 years' time, and my Man United contract's coming towards the end, and I'm still one of the best players in Europe, right? I'm probably worth about 80 million quid, but I let my contract run down, and in January of my last 6 months, Real Madrid get in contact with me and they say, do you want to come to Real Madrid? And I go, well, I'm an 80 million pound player. You're going to get me for free in the summer. I want around 40 million. I want a large proportion of that 80 million pounds in wages over the next 4 years. So I want 400k a week. And that's what you do. And if you're a good enough player, you can do it. And I think David Alaba is in that situation. Sam Newman says, can David Alaba play at centre defensive midfielder? He's not. Gent says Alaba's nearing the end, Mark. No, he's not. He's only just 28. Bloody hell. But he can play CDM, he can play left back. Some people feel that his best position is left back, but I think as a left CDM, he would be very good. We'll just have to see. I don't think anything's going to happen, but the reason I wanted to mention it this morning is people saying we can't play 350k a week. You're missing the point here. We've already paid £100 million for Harry Maguire in transfer fee and wages. Even if we give him 350k a week over 4 years, it will only be £65 million. It's still less than anything we've spent on Wan-Bissaka or Maguire. So financially, it does work. The purpose is, I'd love us to sign David Alaba, and I want people to know that financially it actually is a good decision. But it'll be like, no, we can't do that. And people do fall into that trap. They're like, oh no, United are right not to give him 350k a week, but you don't look at the fact that we're getting him for free. Morning, Mark. Let's pay 20 million and try and sign Alaba now, says Thomas Regula. Yeah, the problem with that is, would Alaba want to come now in January? You could offer 20 million to Bayern Munich, but would Alaba just say, no, I'll wait till the summer because I want I want that money for myself? I kind of don't want, because he hasn't been good for Bayern lately, says Prometheus TV. But that could be just because he's a bit unsettled. You don't know. The next story I want to talk about this morning, and we're going to talk about the director of football. Every bad transfer window we've had just puts more pressure and expectations on the next. I just think the board bottles it every time, says Lewis. And Harry is a black hole. Maguire sucks our fullbacks in, says Barath R. And here we go. Innocent Tennis and Clothing says it's not a good deal. No other club would have to pay that wage. Doesn't matter, he's free. Liverpool, Man City wouldn't pay him that and would still get him. This club has been fleeced for far too long. But I understand what you're saying there, Tennis and Clothing, but you're off on a hypothetical again. One, we won't get him anyway. And two, what I'm saying is it is a good deal because he's a 60 to 80 million pound player, and you're only going to have to pay that in wages if you give him 350k a week. His wage, people need to ignore his wage demands because you're getting him for free. So, of course, his wages are going to be more. That's how it works if you're a free agent. But, of course, if Liverpool are offering him 200k a week and Juventus are offering him 200k a week, you don't offer him 350, you offer him 220. You offer him a little bit more. But I guarantee somebody will give him massive wages because the money can be made back by not having to pay a transfer fee. Anyway, there's a story this morning. I saw it on Jonathan Schrager's Twitter account this morning, saying that he'd spoken to Bissouma's agent, Yves Bissouma, at Brighton, and he has confirmed that Manchester United are very much in the race to sign Bissouma, with Liverpool, Arsenal, Monaco, and 2 other La Liga clubs. This is exciting because Bissouma at Brighton, I'm sure many of you have become aware of him this season and last season. He's exciting because he would be a player that if we brought him in, I think he's 24, around the mid-20s, not like 19 or anything like that. He's the sort of player that if you bought him, you've got to play him. And the lad we were talking about last night, 19, he's going to come in like Pellistri and Diallo, and it's going to be like, he might be ready at some point. If you buy Bissouma, you're going to have to use him. And he's proven that he can play in the Premier League. Whether he can take that step up from a Brighton to Manchester United, well, that's always a risk. But he would be exciting because he is a centre defensive midfielder. He's got that. It's almost like, I've not seen loads of him, but remember last night I was talking about the evolution of the CDM. And I think over the next 5 years, we're going to move away from the Fabinhos and the Kantés, who are, Kanté can get forward and so can Fabinho, but when they do their CDM job, they do tend to be, energetically shielding their back four and not getting forward too much if they're in that CDM role. I think Bissouma looks to me like the evolution of a CDM, whereby he'll do all that shielding work, but he's also capable of, carrying the ball forward as well. So I think he's an exciting prospect. Because he would go straight into the team or challenge for the team straight away. He's reasonably priced. I think it'd be about £30 million. And I think he looks like I think I'm excited by this. The issue is, can we do it in January, which would be ideal? And is it the right deal to do in January? I've looked at Bissouma probably 3 or 4 times this season, and I've said, I like the look of him. I'd like to see him have a full season for Brighton again and then look at him in the summer. But needs must. And I would like to get him ahead of a Liverpool or an Arsenal or anybody like that, because whatever you say about Arteta and Arsenal, the players they're linked to, they want OR from Lyon. They bought in Partey, they're Gabriel as well. They're not bad signings. I just think Arsenal have got major problems. It's going to take them time, but I do think Arsenal's activity in the transfer window is interesting, and if they acquired this player as well, it's even more interesting. So I think United need to be in this race. I don't really think that Liverpool would be in for him. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But it's certainly a race United should be looking to win. And I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged by that. And let's see what happens. But it could just be paper talk. It could be United being used to boost interest. But he is a player that would be reasonably priced, because Brighton aren't going to demand 80 million. I mean, I think if you go to Leicester these days, they want 80 million for everybody. You go to Brighton, I think they're a little bit more realistic. So let's see what happens with Bissouma. I quite like the look of him. TJ says, what about Renato Sanchez? Don't really hear much about Renato Sanchez anymore. I mean, he was going to be the next big thing, wasn't he? And it didn't quite work out at Bayern. MUFC, Kimmich is the second best midfielder in the world, says Daryl. But everyone gets obsessed about Kimmich. But I never know why, because I never hear anything about Kimmich wanting to leave Bayern Munich. Fantastic player, but is it even possible? Adele Ward says, get Alaba and Bissouma. Well, I just want to say that before we talk about the director of football story. Alaba and Bissouma, right? Will we get those 2 players in January? No, we won't. We know we won't. We know our board's nowhere near competent. If we were Chelsea, could we get Alaba and Bissouma in January? Yeah. And that's the thing for me. We all know it won't happen, but actually they are 2 positions we desperately need reinforcements yesterday. The January transfer window is in January, which is in 2 weeks' time, and a competent football club would get those 2 players. They're not pie in the sky. They're not bringing Ronaldo and Messi back, bringing Ronaldo home and getting Messi in. They're not like, they're not amazeballs signings. They're good signings. They're the sort of signings United should be doing at the flick of a hand. Bissouma's at Brighton, coming to Manchester United would be he'd be massively excited about that. He'd be reasonably priced. He's a CDM. Tick box. David Alaba is free in January. He can come in the summer. There's no transfer fee. He's a top class defender. We need a player like that. Maybe Alaba doesn't come till the summer, which is a shame, but you still get him in. And United could do those deals in January, but I mean, whether they will or not, I doubt it. Sandy, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. Vuk says we want Chris Smalling. You know what? Very, very quickly on that. Chris Smalling at Manchester United this season would have been our best centre-back, and we sold him. I don't, somebody said last night on the Friday night Q&A, do you think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sort of is so stubborn he does things just to prove people wrong and then proves himself wrong? I.e. Van der Beek, Twan Sebi, some of his team selections. I think the Chris Smalling thing is weird because over the last year, Chris Smalling's been at Roma and he's played very, very well. And, Chris Smalling's quite quick. He's got a mistake in him, but he's quite quick. I think Chris Smalling at United this season would have done a very good job for us because he's the profile of centre-back that we need, but we sold him. So, I'm not saying Chris Smalling's going to solve world peace or anything like that. He's not an elite centre-back, but I think he would be better than Lindelof and Maguire. But Ollie got rid of him. But, there you go. Could we do a double deal, Bissouma and Lamptey, says Ian Dwan. I think we'd love to do a double deal for Bissouma and Lamptey. I think we'd be very excited with that, but I don't think we do. We will do that. Are you doing a Liverpool Palace watch-along, says Ryan? No, I'm doing Everton versus Arsenal this afternoon because after this I'm heading out. I've got amateur football at midday kickoff, so I can't do that. I'll be keeping an eye on my phone, though. Hopefully Palace do us a favour, although I feel that Liverpool might be dropping into a bit of a groove now. But look, the positive thing I would say about the Bissouma and the Alaba stories are that, yes, Man United are linked to them, but also it just shows you the sort of deals you can do in January if you have a competent negotiating board, of which we don't. But that brings on to something that would improve that. There was a story last night, I saw it, I didn't bring it into the show, I think it was in the Daily Record, which is the one that Duncan Castles writes for, talking about a 3-man shortlist for the Director of Football at Manchester United. Now, the shortlist is really exciting. Campos, Mitchell and Overmars. I'll talk about their backgrounds in a moment, but I would be very happy with any of these three. I would be very happy with a competent Director of Football. What does a Director of Football do? They oversee transfers, they oversee contract renewals, and they oversee removal of players as well who aren't good enough. So they sell, they buy, they renew. And that's, as simple as it is. They can get involved in scouting networks, of course, because that's their area. They can be involved in the youth development as well. You can expand or retract their role. But for me, Manchester United need a sporting director or a director of football who is in charge of buying players, selling players and renewing contracts to support the coaching setup. It's very simple. And a lot of clubs have it. United don't. United's current structure is coaching network, head scout, Ed Woodward and the board, sit down and talk about transfers. There's no experienced speciality in any of those areas, and this is why we fail in the transfer window. It's not rocket science. It's not it's shockingly bad that we've been run like this for 7 years, and this is why our transfer window over the last 7 years is in excess of £1 billion spent, and it's just a graveyard of shit signings. But a director of football could and should resolve a lot of those issues because you have a specialist, right? So the 3 men that we apparently have on our shortlist. Mark Overmars is currently doing this role for Ajax and wants to leave. Look, Overmars for me would go Barcelona or Arsenal. Well, Arsenal have got Edu, so he's not going to go there. Barcelona are in a state of upheaval. You've got, I nearly said Kingsley Coman. You've got Ronald Koeman there as the manager. Imagine that, Kingsley Coman, the Barcelona player manager. You dropped Messi. I'm playing on the right wing. But so Ronald Koeman, good Dutch connections between Ajax and, of course, there's good Dutch connections between Ajax and Dutch players because it's in Holland. But good Dutch connections with Barcelona. So Overmars could go there. I mean, Van der Sar's not actually a director of football. He's the chief executive, isn't he? So Mark Overmars is more the sporting director there. But I think they work collectively, and I think they'll probably go collectively, and they'll probably both go to Barcelona, I would say. Although I would like them at United, I suppose the connection with Mark Overmars isn't there as a player. Dara Kennedy says, I'd love Alaba. Interested to understand why he would want to leave Bayern Munich. I hope any signings are for footballing reasons, not financial. I don't know why he wants to leave Bayern Munich, but he does want to leave Bayern Munich. So I don't know why that is. So I don't think we'll get Overmars. Mitchell, not Phil, Paul Mitchell was at Southampton with Pochettino. At Southampton with Pochettino. Then he went to Spurs with Pochettino. Then he was at Leipzig, and he's now at Monaco. He brought Mane in from Salzburg at Southampton and a few other players. At Spurs, he brought through people like Dele Alli and a few others as well. I think Son, he was involved in that deal. And at Leipzig, obviously they've got a lot of young talent coming through. I don't know specifics about what he did at Leipzig. I think Upamecano was one of his, but he's now at Monaco. We're not going to get Mitchell. We missed the boat on Mitchell. This is irritating. We missed the boat on Mitchell. He went to Monaco in the summer, last summer, 3 or 4 months ago. So we're not going to get Mitchell because he's only just gone to Monaco. And if he was free in the summer, why didn't we go for him? So we're not going to get Mitchell. And that leaves us... And actually, can I just say this, because I'll forget. I think this story's a load of bollocks again. I think it's a drop of positivity again. United are looking for a director of football. I don't think we're looking at a director of football at all. This is a story that just keeps coming out every few months that we get excited about because we know we need one, and then we won't get one. This has literally been a story for about 7 years, and we don't do it. And even in this story of shortlists, there's a man being mentioned that we can't get because he's just gone to Monaco, who we could have got 4 months ago, which shows we're not looking for a director of football. So I think the story's a load of crap, to be honest. I always hope there's something in it, but it's a load of crap. So Mitchell would be good, but he's just gone to Monaco, so I don't even know why he's on the list. And then Campos, I think it's Ivan Campos. He's been around. He's a very, very good director of football, sporting director. He's actually free at the moment, and Barcelona are heavily linked to him. He's free. You know, we could get him right now, and his career is fantastic. More recently at Lille, responsible for a lot of players coming through there. I mean, you think about people like Pepe, and there's been a lot of others. So he's got a very good track record as well. There are some really fantastic director of footballs out there. There's names that we haven't even mentioned. There's people like Bertra who've been mentioned over the years. The opposite, Ralph Rangnick as well, says Udbav. There are really loads and loads and loads and loads of people that we can get, we could bring in. United don't want to, because Ed Woodward's playing, I've said this so many times, he's playing the best game of Football Manager anybody can play. You can get yourself Football Manager 21 this Christmas and you can sit there and love the game. He's doing it in real life. He's a banker with no football knowledge, who doesn't even support Manchester United, who's parachuted himself into one of the most powerful positions in the world, and is playing Football Manager in real life in the best way possible for him, but not for us. He doesn't know football. He doesn't know anything about football. And yet he is now in charge of what we do. And at the moment, I think he's sat there thinking, oh, it's all about Sancho. And, you know, most of our fan base has moved on from Sancho. I think Sancho's a nice to have, but he's not a necessity anymore. I think the summer, that was about Sancho. We all wanted Sancho. And then this season, we've seen, God, forget Sancho. We need a bloody centre-back and a CDM. And I guarantee Woodward's probably still sat there thinking, it's all about the summer. I'm saving up. I'm earning a bit of interest on the 80 million. If I can get it up to 85, I might get Sancho and I'll be a boss. And everyone will be like, well, have you seen us play? Does it look like we're desperate for a right winger at the moment? Not really. We need a CDM and a centre-back. And that's what we should be looking at. And this is why we need a director of football. But I'm not going to invest any time in it. I can tell you the story. Of course I can. But we ain't going to do it. You know, that Campos is available now. He's available.com. You could just get him right now. And, you know, we move forward. But we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. G-Man says centre-back and CDM is a must. Forget Sancho. I agree with you on that one. I do like Sancho, by the way. Obviously, I do. 90% club. Rest in peace. But it was a good time. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think he will be a good player. But the money it's going to cost... It's like the Alaba deal, isn't it? You know, people, don't pay 350k a week for Alaba. All right, we're not paying a transfer fee, and 350k a week over 4 years is about 65 million quid. We've already spent 100 million on transfer fee and wages for Maguire, and we've got 3 more years of paying him 10 million a year. You know, financially, Alaba works. Financially, Sancho doesn't work. You know, how much is the Sancho deal going to be? You know, even if, just on Sancho for a minute, even if Dortmund lower their price from 100 million to 80 million pounds, it's still not a good deal, because 80 million pounds to Dortmund, Sancho's probably going to be on about 15 million a year in wages. His agent's probably going to get 20 million. So that deal adds up to 115, 120 million straight away. Well, that 120 million pounds, you can get a really good centre-back and a really good CDM. And this is what I mean about United. It's like, but Sancho, we'll ask Cavani if he doesn't want to be number 7 anymore, and we'll sell a load of shirts. We're meant to be moving. But what annoys me is we're meant to be progressing as a football club. And I'm not talking about Solskjaer and the team here. I'm talking about off the pitch. These Pogba, Di Maria signings, Sanchez, are meant to be signings of the past. These statement signings that don't actually solve problems. Like, we spent all that money on Alexis Sanchez, 400k a week. And what did we do? We went and dropped Martial and Rashford to play him on the left wing. Statement signings. Get away. Get players in that we need to get. I'd be over the moon if we didn't get Sancho, but we got Alaba and Bissouma. I'd be like, that is amazing. And I think most of our fan base would be, because they've got layers, they're educated. You're going to get this certain type of fan that if you said, do you want Sancho or do you want Alaba and Bissouma? They'll go, I want Sancho. I get that. But the vast majority, educated football fans would go, I like Sancho, but Bissouma and Alaba every day. They're the two players that are going to improve the team. And that's why you need a director of football, really. We should buy non-England players, says Sabin. And, well, I'd like Declan Rice. Maguire and Lindelof, says Rahoma, but doesn't say anything else. Upamecano, and we're in a title race, says Will Kellett. And we do need a right wing, Pratt, says Pitts. A lovely comment there from Pitts. I didn't say we didn't need a right winger. I'm just saying that the financials of a Sancho deal don't make any sense. And as I said last night, don't use the word Pratt because that's associated with me and I'm going to copyright it. I'm only joking. But as I said last night, right wing, I'm not convinced we do need a right winger. Diallo isn't far off being a first teamer. He's starting to, he's had a few glimpses with Atalanta, so he's not far away. Pellistri doesn't look like he's far away. There's 2 players there. You only need one of them to hit the first team and be ready. I mean, Ryan Giggs was playing football at 17. Rooney was playing as a teenager. Ronaldo was playing. People, Greenwood's been playing for United. He was playing for United at 18, 17. So Pellistri and Diallo, I think they're 19. One of those could come in the first team. And right, might not play every week. You might have to rest him every now and again. But they could become a real big part of the team. So I don't necessarily think we need a right winger. Imagine if, would you be crying out for a centre-back if we had 2 19-year-old centre-backs who look really good? Or would you be like, let's just try and get them into the team like we've said about Twansevi? So I think the right wing thing is a massive, I think there's a massive, well, I know Man United are still obsessed with Jadon Sancho and they're trying to do that deal even now for the summer. But I think we need to move on. I really do. I think we need to move on from that. And we are going to move on from that. Of course, we've got the Leeds game tomorrow. I don't know if anybody's seen the quotes from Calvin Phillips, the Leeds captain. I'm very excited about this game anyway. This isn't his quote, this is me first. I'm very excited about this game anyway against Leeds, but it's going to be an open game the way Bielsa plays football. I think we can beat them. I don't think man for man they're that good, but I think as a system they're good. But Calvin Phillips, his quotes really get you excited, and I hope United are up for it, because he's like, as soon as that Newcastle game was over on Wednesday night, I was going around the dressing room telling everybody, keep yourself, peak fitness, peak mentality. This is our biggest game of the season. We've got to be up for it from minute one. They're up for this. Like, I'm a lot older than a lot of you. Some people are older than me who watch this show and will understand it. But we can't replicate how Leeds are excited for this. We can't replicate how this is Leeds' biggest game of the season. I'm sorry, but Man United versus Leeds, it's an exciting game for United fans. It's not the biggest game of the season. It's probably not in our top 5 games of the Premier League season, to be fair, because the Liverpool games would be bigger. The Man City games would be bigger. You could argue that Chelsea and maybe even Arsenal is bigger. So, but for Leeds, it's numero 1. And they don't speak French in Leeds, by the way. Some people do, but it's number 1. It's their number 1. So it's great. I'm excited to see how Leeds are up for this, because, we are going to talk about Solskjaer's 2 years on the 8 o'clock show tonight, but this is what I want. I want to see this Man United team tested. Are we genuinely in a title race, is what everyone wants to know. Well, we are, because of where we are in the league, but have we been fortunate over the last few weeks? Are we doggy style United? We come from behind in every game. Could we have lost to Southampton when we were 2-0 down? Yes, we could. Could we have lost to West Ham if they'd taken their chances in the first half when we were 1-0 down? Yes, we could. Could we have lost to Sheffield United? I think we'd have had to go some to lose to them, really, but we could have drawn with them at the end. We lost badly to Leipzig. So, but you are where you are. Results over a league season are where you are. But Leeds tomorrow, they're going to be up for it. They're going to be at us. If you win that game, you're showing that you are in this race. And I had people saying to me, I was playing FIFA on That's Football last night, and people were saying 6-1 Spurs. We beat you, Arsenal. And I said, you know what? Really disappointed to lose those games. I was really disappointed with the Spurs game. We deserved to get smashed. And the Arsenal game, they deserved to win. I was disappointed to lose that. Even though it was a penalty, I do think Arsenal played better than us. But I was saying to them, at the end of the day, do you want to beat us 6-1 and finish behind us? Or do you want to be us? Arsenal fans, do you want to beat us and be in 15th? Or do you want to be in a title race like us? I don't think many fans want to just win individual games in a league season. If you beat us and you win the Champions League or you win the FA Cup, that's something very different. But I don't care. I do care that we lost to Arsenal. I don't like it. But if you offered me the situation, beat Arsenal at Old Trafford but be 15th now and Arsenal in a title race, or lose to Arsenal and be in a title race, I'm going to take this. And Spurs beat us 6-1, and yet if we win our game in hand, we're above them. So, individual results can turn into a positive thing. But, Arsenal beat us 2-0 last season in January. We finished in 3rd, they finished in 8th. It's a league season. It's what you do over 38 points, that 38 games that matters. I don't care if we get battered by Liverpool home and away if we win the league. And Liverpool used to do that to us sometimes. They'd beat us, but we'd win the league. When we need a player, say a right winger, the board always take 2 to 3 years to do it. We're always behind on making squad as good as it should be, says Dazzo W. And Dara Kennedy says, I'm very nervous about the Leeds game. Our squad better be up for it, as Leeds are. I have doubts about what team will turn up. Well, you know what he's going to do. He's going to know that Leeds are up for it, and he's going to put the batteries in the back of the Duracell bunnies, and he's going to send them out to run. It'll be McFred in the midfield. I'm absolutely convinced. It shouldn't be. You cannot, whatever you think about Paul Pogba, you cannot have a performance from Paul Pogba next to a CDM in a double pivot like he did on Sheffield United and then move him to left wing or the bench. You can't. He's got to play Paul Pogba in the CDM role, which means he can only play McTominay or Fred. But I think he will move Pogba to accommodate the Duracell bunnies and their energy, and then we will lose the creativity. And I like Fred and McTominay, but I don't like Fred and McTominay as a pair because you lose creativity. And the one thing we need in this game, you desperately need creativity from the midfield pivot, because imagine Leeds are all over you, Pogba gets the ball, pings a 40-yard ball out to Rashford or Martial, we're in. Is McTominay capable of doing that? No. Not to the ability that Pogba's got. Is Fred? No. So for me, Pogba's got to play in one of the holding roles or the deeper roles, but I think he'll go with McFred. And that could be a real opportunity for Leeds, because if we can't get out, they can get others. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. We are going to be back at 8 o'clock tonight, and I am doing Arsenal versus Everton at 5:30 on That's Football channel if you want to subscribe and join me for that. I hope you have a good day, whatever you're doing. There's a lot of good football on today, and we will have an 8 o'clock show, of course. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. Hopefully you understand where I'm coming from on the Alaba deal. It financially, 350k a week is a lot, but it makes massive sense because you're not, over 4 years, it would be 64 million in wages, but he's worth that as a player. So, and we've paid 100 million already to Harry Maguire in transfer fee and wages. So sometimes you've got to look outside the box. We're paying Phil Jones 100 grand a week. So, I'd love us to go for Alaba, I'd love us to go for Bissouma, and I'd love us to get a director of football. I'd love that hat-trick to happen more than signing Sancho every day of the week. But can United do it? Do they want to do it? That's always going to be the issue. Make sure you download the Flick app, by the way. Links in the video description. It's free on Apple and Android. It's basically like United Stand app. You can chat 24/7 on there. There's polls, there's quizzes. Today's poll, which I'm going to use on the 8 o'clock show tonight. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's been here 2 years. Mark him out of 10 for the last 2 years. And we're going to use that on the show tonight. So links in the video description for the Flick app. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.